Hello, everybody. What's up? What's up? What's up? This is the one and only African superstar. Can you guys see me? Mm, is it right? Oh, wait a minute here. Why doesn't nothing want to be working for me sometimes? What's up, guys? Are you guys ready for this episode? Big shout out to the African superstar family. Okay. All right. Okay. Guys, so I'm back. I'm back with another proximity. Seems that my proximity on Friday night was very popular as I drew the parallels between South Africa and what Black Americans experience. I want to give a special shout out to all the South Africans that came through in the comments to verify what I was saying. Black Americans, they deny everything. But the South Africans was like, yeah, you're right. So, I mean, but obviously the similarities, the parallels, the situations are obviously a bit different. They're not an exact cookie cutter duplicated situation, but what I'm focusing on is the exposure. Okay. And when we see what happens when we have that proximity exposure, it is problematic in every form or fashion. Big shout out to the African superstar family. When you guys come in, please get in the chat room. Yes, like the stream. Tonight I'm going to talk about yet another parallel. Shout out to Dubfly KM. I'm going to talk about the anti-blackness of Black Americans and the xenophobia of South Africans. All right. This is yet another example of proximity. And I have several videos to back up these situations. It's not ironic that in these environments you see a lot of distortion of identity. You see, the anti-blackness, you see the xenophobia, you see a traumatic response to that proximity. Okay, and that's what I really want to drive home. Obviously, I briefly gave other examples of proximity. You have, the example of the Caribbean, you have Latin America, where basically, you know, us being present with them, it's just very problematic. So tonight we're going to talk about this topic. Big shout out to the African superstar family. Guys, make sure you like the stream. Hello. I see quite a few of you here, so make sure you like the stream if you're enjoying the proximity series. I want to also remind you there are several videos in the proximity series, so you can go back to the community tab and get that playlist so you can see, because proximity is affecting our people in many, 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 many ways. Big shout outs to the family. I see you guys in the chat room. Samira, Nawaj, big shout outs. Gemma, hello, 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 hello. I see you guys. Big shout outs to the African superstar family. Tonight I'm going to my first video is relative to the Desi community. So for our Indian viewer today, this will apply to you. This is just another example of when we have this prolonged exposure to our enemies, okay? It begins to affect us in very, very profound ways. And one of those ways that we see both in the US and in South Africa is colorism, okay? Colorism is due to seeing the non-Black people at the top of the totem pole, okay, living the best lives, being wealthy, having access, etc., etc., and then seeing as you go down the totem pole based on appearance, based on complexion. Obviously, the darkest people have received the most heinous treatment, the least favoritism, and all of that. So you have a hierarchy, and that's colorism, which basically says to the Black and brown community that the closer proximity you are to white, the more either you can appear white via your appearance, or perhaps if you can integrate, intermarry, it will actually help you get up the ladder. And we know this is false, but that's the thinking of a lot of divestors and a lot of these traders. So I want to actually share this video. Big shout out to the African superstar family. Yes, yes, yes. All right. Make sure you guys hit the likes when you come in. If you're enjoying this series, if you've learned something, you can also say something in the chat room, and you can also support the stream. Okay. The first video I'm going to show, it talks about this proximity.
In Desi communities, we are racist to our own people because we glorify the white skin. We glorify being fair and being bright. Even though majority of us are brown, it's a part of our ethnicity, it's a part of our identity. All of the advertisements promote the idea that to be happy, to be beautiful, you need to be white. This racist ideology is like engraved in the Desi community.
Okay, so we see from this first video, this is a young Indian woman, and she's talking about the colorism within her community, which is evident in all situations, all examples of proximity. You see this in the Latin world, you see this in South Africa, you see this in America, you see this in Europe, okay? Because basically you're comparing apples and oranges. So with prolonged exposure, you begin looking at these people in a higher position and wishing somehow that you can get there. What the side effect of this also is anti-blackness or xenophobia. Okay, so anti-blackness, which I'm sure for some people that first came to America, it was shocking to meet black people that A, don't think they're black, B, hate other black people, C, traitors, divestors. You know, it might be very shocking to encounter these people because you're looking at them like, bro, what's going on? What's happening here? Are you like, have you taken a look in the mirror lately? But what happens is these people have conjured up so much self-hate, all right, for themselves, their origins, their situation, that they begin to project that onto other black people, especially other black people that are confident. Okay? Black people with self-hate issues hate confident black people because they feel like, how dare you have confidence? Like, who do you think you are? You are out of place, okay? Because they are having the mentality of the colonizer, all right? Although they are in brown skin. And so we see this, you know, obviously it's a huge issue coming from the Western world, notably the Black Americans. They are very vocal about uh, their dislike of other areas of the diaspora. And the irony is they will have a movement such as like Black Lives Matter, where they will be protesting about the value of a life of a black person, yet they don't want to be considered or labeled part of any others of the diaspora. They want to be their own separate group. They don't want anybody else in. Very selective whose class. You know, I've had people here come on YouTube because it's like, okay, obviously my mother's from Bermuda. And so they will say, oh, well, you're not really a foundational black person because both of your parents don't come from the United States and this and that. Fam, listen, listen. Okay. Where did the black people that ended up in the Caribbean come from? First trivia question. Where did the black people that come from the Caribbean? I know we have some Caribbean viewers in here. Go ahead and let us know where they come from. Hello? Hello? Where did the people in Jamaica come from? Where do the people in Antigua come from? Where did those in Bermuda come from? Hello. Where are their origins? I just think actually the argument is crazy a lot of times because we all have origins and ties to the same place. Thank you very much, G. Mother Africa. That's right. The people in the Caribbean came and were transported from Africa. And whereas I don't have the, geographic loyalty that Westerners have, they kind of want to really, really cling on to their block, their corner, their state, their city, whatever. I don't have those. I'm not bound because I'm global. I can be anywhere. But the facts are, I know where my origins originate from. So it doesn't matter if I, have deep, deep roots in the Western world or not. What difference does it make? We're all coming from the same place. So I was born and raised in America, but your mom and dad was born in America. So we have a generations of difference. Because when we trace it back, it's all going to the same place. Shout out to the African superstar family. What's up, Tuco Pomajo? Tonight I'm talking about another symptom of proximity. Okay, when we live among those people, we start having a lot of issues. And guess what's not surprising? Guess what's not surprising? A lot of these division tactics and stereotypes are perpetuated by who? By who? Who's telling the South Africans, oh, you need to be mad at these Zimbabweans. You need to be mad at these Nigerians. They're taking your jobs. They're the reason that crime is in this country. Same old tactics, guys. Always removing themselves from the equation, okay? And projecting that someone else is the cause of the problem. Okay, we see this with the whole slave trade logic. One of the biggest arguments of some Black American groups is that they have a bone to pick with Africa because of the role that was played during the slave trade. Okay, they have more smoke for African people than the Europeans that facilitated the whole damn thing, than the Americans that they live among that's making their life a living hell. They have more smoke for, their own reflection than the actual culprits. And who told them that it was their ancestors that were trading in the slave trade? Is this not a similar tactic? Is this not a similar tactic? You see, when I lay it out, I hope it's very plain to you that we have a common enemy. And that's what I really want to express through these proximity series. Now, a lot of times the stage is set for us. And then when we take the fall, then we're blamed for the outcome. Okay, like I know, Black South Africans are blamed for the situation that's going on in the country. When those non-Black people have created a lot of the dynamics that lead to these things, as well as exposure to their way of life, their culture. Okay, big shout out to the African superstar family. Guys, if you're here, let me see you in the chat room. Hit the likes. What's up? What's up? What's up? Owen, I see you there. Kano, I see you there. Shout outs to M. George from Detroit, Michigan. I see you there. Big shout outs to Tuco. Yes, family. Big shout outs to the African superstar family. So tonight I'm talking about yet again the parallels between the anti-blackness in the West. I can't tell you how many times since living abroad I have heard these remarks about Black Americans. Even seeing some of their behavior here in Ghana, just kind of powwowing together, some of them not really interested in integrating, some of them thinking that they're better, some of them looking down on the locals and all this type of stuff. I believe that this anti-blackness comes from the proximity, just basically seeing, maybe your dreams being far off and all the obstacles going there. It might make you look at aspects of yourself and say, I really don't like being Black. I think life would be easier if I were white. I think I would have more opportunities. I would get more favoritism. I could get away with more things. And in a lot of cases, that's true. You know what I mean? They have made it so intense in these environments for us that it is hard to matriculate. But you need to have the smoke for the right people. You need to have the smoke for the right people. Okay? Your counterparts, other members of the diaspora, they're not the enemy. And if you can't recognize who the enemy is and hold that person accountable, then you don't need to direct your animosity at the next person. Big shout outs to you guys. Yes, I see you there. Please make sure you hit the likes. Today I'm talking about this topic. So next I have a brief video, Dr. Umar talking about the xenophobia that happens in South Africa, okay?
This is what pushed experiences xenophobia in Africa? South Africa.
They do, but a lot of the xenophobia, and it's not justifiable, but a lot of the xenophobia is economically related, because what happens is you live in South Africa. Right. He lives in Namibia, hypothetically. Right.
It's the classes you mean?
No, stay with me.
Yeah.
So you are boycotting your job because y'all want higher pay. So they come to Namibia and tell you, give me 100 Namibians, come to South Africa, we need y'all to break this protest. You hungry, you got kids to feed, so guess what you do? You come across national lines and you break the South African protest. Now you just gave birth to that xenophobia. Why would you bring your black ass to my country and sabotage my fight?
Right.
For better pay? You see that? Okay. So a lot of the xenophobia in Africa is economically related. It's the white man again putting black people against black people. It's the same thing they do over here with us. It's no different.
Okay, so Dr. Umar breaks down a little bit of the xenophobia. So for those of you guys that don't know the meaning of xenophobia, it is basically a fear of foreigners, a fear of outsiders, and or it relates to, you know, outburst, violence, sentiment, negativity, that kind of thing. So when I talk about xenophobia in South Africa, some of the South Africans have had clashes with various African groups because South Africa is one of the most developed African nations on the continent. So many other Africans from other, you know, disenfranchised countries and things like that will go to South Africa to look for opportunities. Okay. And of course, our friends, proximity, have, you know, sown that seed that, oh yeah, life is hard for you in this country because of all these foreigners. Does it sound familiar? These foreigners are in the country, and that's why you can't have a good job and you're not making good money. Okay, of course, absolving themselves from the role that they play. Okay, like Dr. Umar said, if the South Africans are protesting better pay, the real culprit is the person who's giving them bad pay, right? Which would be perhaps the government, perhaps the business owner, whatever, the whole system, right? Now that company is going to say, ooh, we don't want to sort this out with South Africans. Let's go across the border. Let's get some folks from Zimbabwe. Let's get some people from Namibia. Let's recruit them in to do these jobs, creating the tension. Does it sound familiar? Does it sound familiar? I hope you guys can see the parallels because these folks have the same tactics. These folks have the same tactics that they have been operating with for centuries. And yet, some of our people still don't get it and are still, you know, misdirecting their frustration and their anger and all that to the wrong groups. Why? Why? I mean, I've never quite understood that. I don't know if it's like a fear thing, because I've never understood why you would be more mad at someone who's not responsible than the actual person, you know, the persons or people or whatever who's involved. It's just like, for instance, you got a boyfriend, your boyfriend cheats on you with another girl. You're going to go and attack the other girl. Chances are she might not even know about you. You know, the person to be held responsible is the cheater, your man. But you are mad at this other girl. Why? That's what it's like. What's up? What's up? What's up? G says power. I'm coming to do the comments. Let me get through my videos first. Big shout out to the African Superstar family. Guys, if you're here for the first time, we have a code for live streams. Please hit the likes. Get in the chat room. Be a conversation piece. Okay. I remember somebody mentioned just yesterday talking about the palaver with the Miss South Africa pageant that just passed. And basically, I have a video kind of discussing that a little bit, so I'll play that for you.
This whole Miss SA competition has said so much about South African society right now. So for anyone that doesn't know, basically they've held the Miss SA competition this year, and there was a Nigerian contestant who made it into the last like top 10, top 16, I forgot which one. And the amount of hate that she's gotten was so much that she had to quit. They initially started doing background checks on her family to try and see whether she's even a South African citizen, those kind of stuff. When she was actually born here, she was born in South Africa, she grew up there, and are now trying to claim that she's actually a Nigerian, she doesn't deserve to do this, that. And it's like, why is there so much hate for an African person competing in African beauty pageants, but the last like 20 winners of Miss SA have all been white women? And I'm pretty sure that at least one of them had a parent who was like European, but there's zero outrage for it. Zero. And all it's showing is that xenophobia isn't xenophobia anymore, just anti-blackness. Because xenophobia is never directed against white people. In South Africa, xenophobia is only targeted at black Africans, especially the poorer ones. There's no hate for any Afrikaner person who might have an English dad or a German father, anything, nothing. There's no hate, and it's getting to a point where it just seems like South African society is regressing back to apartheid, where there's mass anti-blackness in the communities, but now it's just becoming anti-blackness towards people that aren't South African. Like, how are they even attacking Uncle Waffles? Uncle Waffles is a music artist. She's bringing Amapiano to the world, but because she's from Swaziland, they're now rejecting her as not being a South African. Like, how does that even make sense? It's ridiculous, man.
Okay, so this young man is talking basically about what I just talked about. Hello. Whenever we have smoke, it's always towards our people. Okay. In this case, in South Africa, it's towards other African groups. Okay. Never to the whites, never to the invaders, never to the colonizers. Hello. But always to other Africans. Okay. In this case, this Nigerian, perhaps her parents were Nigerian, but she was born and brought up in South Africa. Okay. This is the same way that these white European people are claiming South African lineage, right? Because we know for a fact they don't originate in Africa. But they're saying, oh, yeah, well, my great grandfather came here and we've settled and we've been here for years and all this type of nonsense. You see, so the double standards are crazy. We really, I don't know why our people do not require reciprocity, why we allow other people to have jurisdiction in our lands that is not reciprocated. You see, because you see, for instance, in America, where the Black Americans have been in the country for centuries now, okay, they're still treated as second-class citizens. They're still seen as, Africans, basically treated as African migrants, really, as if they have not been there for centuries, as if they don't have, connections to the country, the culture, and all of that. But these white people that moved into South Africa, they're repping hard like they're indigenous, and it's just crazy. And we allow it. We allow it. You see? So this anti-blackness sentiment, I believe it comes from the proximity. Okay, because obviously you start turning inward with all of that frustration and hatred and anger and all of that stuff. You don't give it out to the people that deserve it. You turn it on other people. So big shout out to the family. Hi, what's up, Wildfire? I see you there. G says power manipulates the direction of hate. Absolutely. It's always been a tactic, for instance, with the rich. The rich like to you see Donald Trump using this theory where he's trying to appeal to the rural working class people when he is a billionaire or millionaire, whatever. Okay, his life reality is completely different than the people that he tries to align himself with, tries to appear down to earth, tries to represent the everyday man. And it's not true. Meanwhile, the government is stealing and government's not doing what they're supposed to do, but it's the immigrants. The immigrants are the ones who are responsible for everything that's taking place in the country. Do you see the parallels? You see, so the issues in South Africa, they have nothing to do with these people that are controlling everything. No. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with the Zimbabwean house cleaner that comes, that's making, however many rand an hour or whatever. It's her fault. It's the Latinos' fault in America. Straight parallels between the anti-blackness of Black America and the xenophobia of South Africa. Okay, so in this next clip, she's a very well-known personality here in Ghana, and she was talking about how that most of the Black American celebrities, okay, and very wealthy people and prominent people, they have had to do dodgy things to get their position. Okay, and it's very, very true. And again, this goes with that hierarchy. Okay, just being cutthroat, doing whatever is required to get up there, stepping on other people's necks, ratting out other people. That is the capitalist American way. And so let me share this video with you guys. What's up? Are you here? Guys, okay, first of all, let me pause. Get the likes up to 20. We have 24 viewing, 16 likes. Let's get it up. Hello. Take a minute out. Like the stream. Like the stream. It's required for live streams. Participation. Hello. Yes, yes, yes. And then when I get through the videos, I'm going to come through and read everybody's comments. So if you have anything to add on this topic, leave it in the chat room. Okay, hit the likes. I'm waiting for you guys. Hit the likes or leave and watch the playback. That's it. Hit the like so I can share the next video. Hello, family. Yes. So I see the parallels between this, the anti-blackness in America and then the xenophobia, right? It's basically diaspora wars. It's diaspora wars, and it's been stirred up by the actual guilty party is the one going to the Black Americans and saying, hey, Africans are the ones who sold you into slavery, right? And then the same people are coming to the continent and saying, those Black Americans, they're ghetto, they're useless. You shouldn't marry them. They're bad people. Okay? And the same person then he moves back and lets the people go to war. Okay? In South Africa, that person is going to the Zulu and saying, these Zimbabwean people is why your life is messed up. Why you can't make money and get a job. They're taking all the jobs. In the same breath, they're going and recruiting these people. That's what I tell people here, from Ghana's side, when they always say, Africans are, if Africa's so sweet, why are they moving to the Western world? You just don't know the part they're playing over here. You have no idea. You don't know that they're running advertisements. They have billboards. They're coming over here soliciting. They're going to universities and recruiting people. They're coming here looking for nurses. They're coming recruiting people for the U.S. and British armies. That's the part the Westerners don't know. Okay? They're strategically painting an image of prosperity and, opportunity in the Western world that has everybody here on the continent believing the minute they step on step in America, step in Europe, money's going to fall from the sky. Okay? Two-sided creatures. And if you just take a minute out and acknowledge how those folks are like, that is how they are like. They are two-faced. Always playing the middle grounds. Guys, y'all still haven't got the likes up. That's why I haven't played the video. So hit the likes. If you're here watching me live, I know you want to be here. So just hit the likes. That's it for the algorithm. Hit the likes. Okay, if you're a spy, just come back and watch the playback. Okay, because live streams are meant to be interactive. Hello. Come on. I want to get to the video. So we waiting on y'all. Hello. G says, whomever has the power to choose the way. Absolutely. And they know exactly. They have done a lot of psychological research into human nature and human behavior. Okay. So they know how to get you going. There's an African proverb that says, when two brothers fight, the foreigner inherits the land. Okay, they set the stage and they remove themselves and they let you guys go toe to toe. Huh? All right. Thank you so much for getting the lights up. Yeah, I'm sorry I have to, sometimes I have to stop because people are not on code, but I will do that. Hello. Okay, so the subject of this video, it says African Americans who are very wealthy have had to do something to undermine other Black people.
Black person, a Black American, African American person who is very, very, very successful and wealthy, they've had to do something to undermine other Black people, and they've had to do bad things. I mean, having extreme wealth and having a lot of money, you have to be cutthroat. You have to be willing to do anything. And I'm not willing to do anything for money.
Connected Minds podcast.
Shout outs. That's actually a segment from the Connected Minds podcast. It's a very good podcast here on YouTube. So you should definitely check it out. But yes, that young lady was talking about, the nature of the people that want to climb the chain. Okay. And again, this is the whole crabs in a barrel. Okay. So you're not contesting with the world at large. You're not contesting with people at large. You're contesting with other people. So we have unfortunately developed a minority mindset. Okay, because we think, okay, this is the opportunity. Okay, so this is what I have to operate in. If I got to step on top of Wildflower to get ahead, if I got to step on top of Keisha or Damon, I'm going to do it to get ahead. Okay, in reality, the opportunity sphere is this big. There's enough for all of us to win. Okay, if I get a job at the coffee shop, it doesn't mean you can't get a job somewhere. It doesn't mean that. Okay, if I get a boyfriend, it doesn't mean that's one less man in the world that but that's how we've been conditioned. And that's why and again, I can say from the Western world, that whole construct was created on the plantation. Okay, that whole construct was created on the plantation. That whole colorism piece, you had basically the mixed race kids got to work in the house. Okay, people that ratted out the runaways, people that was close to the master telling him what's going to go down, and the interior moves, they were rewarded. Okay, so basically being a snitch, being a backstabber, it was rewarded. That kind of behavior was celebrated. Okay, and so that, and again, these examples of South Africa and the Black Americans, it only projects the problem out. Because why are these groups of people that have been exposed substantially, proximity wise, why are they exhibiting these type of behaviors? Okay, I can say obviously here in Ghana, foreigners do get preferential treatment, white people do get preferential treatment. But everyday colorism, the majority of the population is dark. So it has to do more with class, education, maybe your family, how much money you have. Those kind of things are going to be what help you move up the hierarchy here in Ghana. Okay, because the population is primarily Black. But in places where the whites have come and the mixing has started, you're then having this proximity chart. Okay, here's the white man, here's the the colored in South Africa, basically the mixed race people. And I mean, I don't even know if there's any dark people in South Africa anymore, because when I was there, I only saw fair skinned people. And then again, I don't know if that is how their tribe is, because typically West and Central Africa has the darkest populations, Mali, the Sudan, Chad, Nigeria, Ghana, a lot of these people, we have a lot of melanin because there's a lot of sun. Hello. Big shout out to the African superstar family. Serious Punch says, I just think it's hilarious. People still don't think colorism exists. Homie, they don't think discrimination exists. They don't think racism exists. They don't think police brutality exists. They think we're making up everything. They think we're making it all up and just making noise for no reason.
This is what pushes xenophobia in Africa, South Africa.
So, okay, so moving on to my next video. And this talks about the anti-blackness in America. Okay, I talked about it briefly on a previous episode that many African people that I've met and, encountered in the US, in the UK, also here in Africa, tell me that their first, bouts of racism were with Black Americans, which is crazy, but yes, it's very true. There is a very strong sense of that coming from there. So I want to share this next video. Okay, big shout out to you guys. Hit the likes.
I think this is a conversation that needs to be had. So I was scrolling on TikTok the other day and I came across this boy video and he was basically saying, why don't Africans like Black Americans? He was trying to talk to this African girl at his job, but she ignored him. But he did see that she was talking to the white people. So he got to wonder, why don't Africans like Black people? Let me just go ahead and say, and let me be the one to say, it's not that Africans don't like Black people. It's the other way around, sadly. Black people don't like Africans. And what do I mean by that, you ask? Because when making fun of Africans was a thing not too long ago, y'all had everything in the world to say about us. Y'all called us all types of names. We were called African booty scratchers. We were told that we climb trees. We sleep with lions and tigers. We walk barefooted. We don't have no shoes. We live in huts. We eat goat. Although, we do eat goat. So all these stereotypes, so on, all these very different varieties of stereotypes that made us so uncomfortable that we started to hate ourselves. And it's so crazy because we were never spoken to like that by the white man. They never made us feel less than ourselves. I could never just understand the hatred because we're literally the same color. You're no better than me and we bleed the same. And then they say, I'm not African, I'm Black American. It be your own kind. Then you call them African American and they hate it. They don't want to be associated with Africans. So they say, I'm American or I'm Cherokee. They made it seem like being African was a crime. It was just recently that the Americans started showing love to Africans. And that's just because the celebrities started showing love first. So you know what that means. Everybody hopped on the bandwagon. It started from wearing dashikis to listen to African music to now eating African food. We're finally accepted in y'all eyes. So Africans never hated Black Americans. It was always Black Americans that hated Africans.
Okay, so that's very interesting, but it is the experience of a lot, and not just African immigrants. Caribbeans have expressed the same things. Latinos have expressed the same things. Black Americans want their group to be just their group. They don't want to integrate with other members of the diaspora. And again, this comes from proximity. What is one of the primary things that we learn from these white tea people? Okay, these white tea people are very, very territorial. All right. Now, obviously, here on the continent, I actually wish that continental Africans would be more territorial, that they would actually not be so friendly and inviting to these foreigners, because I know the danger that they pose. But people here on the continent share their food, share their lands, invite you to their families. They'll teach you about their tribe and their history. Very welcoming, very open, very communal, right? Now, when you see the groups of the Blacks that are in close proximity with our enemies, they are what? Very territorial. This is my spot. You can't be here. You can't claim this. Are you a foundational Black American? How long has your family been living here in the country? Are you this? Are you that? Trying to, there were people, when I was growing up, I think some of you guys can definitely relate. You're not Black enough. You're not this, you're not that. You don't speak, you didn't go to this school, you didn't come from this side of town. Always trying to segment and dictate who's in and who's not in, but always willing to include the whites, always ready with open arms to embrace the non-Blacks. You're going to bring them in, huh? So many of you so-called Pan-African pro-Blacks divesting, married to non-Black people. Total hypocrites. But to your own people, you're trying to determine if they're Black enough, if they're, you know what I'm saying? It's just ludicrous and crazy. Big shout outs. What's up, HBGHH Frank? I see you there. Big shout outs to you. Okay, so then I have another video about the colorism. What's up? What's up? Ayo, I see you there. Thank you for being here. Make sure you guys hit the likes if you're enjoying this series. Make sure you check out my other proximity videos. There's a long list of proximity symptoms. So please check the community tab so you can catch up with the videos. This next video describes how, the structure was created to put us in a box, basically. A lot of the stereotypes and all that stuff that were associated with us, we didn't create it. Okay? These are Eurocentric ideas and Eurocentric definitions, all right, of who we're supposed to be, what we're going to measure up to when we grow up, statistics and all of this stuff, right? So this lady talks about these things, and I thought it was relative to the topic.
Often white people will meet a black person who completely challenges every racial stereotype that they've ever had. Rather than giving up the stereotype, they create a special category for that person and say, well, you're not like other black people. Or instead of saying, my ideas of black people were too narrow or too... And I think that's the tragedy of any kind of prejudicial thinking, that when we confront the circumstance that tells us it's not so, we frequently don't enlarge our sense of things. We actually come up with new ways to protect and defend that way of thinking.
Click the link in the bio
Yes.
to get the book.
So she's talking about how basically they try to put us in the box. And this is relative to the whole hierarchy chart, because they will do that. And in first shot, trivia question, okay? Have you ever been told, oh, you're different. Oh, you don't sound like this. And well, what school did you go to? If you've ever encountered that in the Western world, let me see a number one. So basically they're trying to imply to you that you are not what they expected, or that you don't measure up to their expectations, or you are basically they might as well be saying you are an exceptional black. Basically, that's what they're saying. So for those of you guys that don't understand, when they say, oh my goodness, you're so articulate, you're so smart, you're so this, you're so that, it's not a compliment. They're basically saying, hey, I didn't expect anything from you, and you exceeded my expectations. So this is something that they do to the house niggas, okay? They make the house niggas feel special, like, okay, you're not like, you're different than those ones in the fields. Yeah, you're a step up. And then they will use these people, okay? They always use the sellouts to put on top of their counterparts. And then again, creating this whole division piece. Because you might be looking at that person and say, okay, that's another black person. He's supposed to have my back. Meanwhile, he's playing on the master side. Okay, he's influenced by that person, and he's operating in their agenda. I remember the last time I got fired from a job. The white tea person that was harassing me in the office, she didn't come to tell me. Okay, she sent one of the associate managers, a black person, to do her dirty work. And obviously that person, she and I had a really good rapport, and she was like, Gina, I don't even know why they sent me to do this. And I was like, girl, listen, I already know how they do. I'm not taking it personal. I know it's not you who has created this. But see, that's the dynamic that they're trying to fortify there. Okay, so that's what the lady was talking about. Okay, when you don't fit their standards, oh my goodness, I didn't expect that from you. Ayo says, I was told at an AT&T store that you don't speak black, that I speak like I'm from Britain. So basically, they're putting you in another category. And you see, this also happens in the U.S. too, because Africans will be treated differently than Black Americans. I have heard this, and I've seen it done. Perhaps the police is trying to profile an African person, or a British, a black British. And the minute they hear that accent or the minute they see the name, they realize like, oh, wait a minute, this is not a black American. Our target was a black American. So it totally shifts the whole thing. And I remember seeing a TikTok some time ago of this black British who came to the US, and she said that she was going through immigration, and the immigration officer was being really rude and nasty until she saw that British passport and she heard the accent. And then it was a black American. And then, her whole thing changed. Like, oh my gosh, so you're from England? Wow, that's cool. This and that. Oh, are you in town for long? And it's really interesting. So they are also complicit in this division. The proximity plays a role. Now, the last video I want to show, it talks about a lot of topics relative to this, the colorism and all of this thing. So I really want to share this with you guys. Hello, big shout out to everybody. And then after this video, I'm going to get to the comments. So leave any comments in here. Hello, 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 hello.
Why do Black people feel the need for white proximity? I think starting this conversation, the main tenet of this was to highlight the fact that in our communities, we are plagued with this notion that once we do better, or we make more money, or become more successful, our proximity to whiteness and white aligning spaces, white facing spaces, affiliations, and society will make us a better human, when in reality it doesn't. I used an example of Diana Ross yesterday because I had just happened to be with her family and I saw it and made me think, this happens like so much. It happens in the NFL, the NBA, but it also happens with our most famous black figures. We were gaslit by Michael Jackson to believe his 3 kids were actually his and half black, when Michael's DNA looks like mine. There's no way that those would be his kids. And I've known his kids. I've known Paris for a while. She's a white woman. Lionel Richie, his kids are all mixed. And Sophia married a white man and just had a white baby. Miles only dates white women. And Nicole, even though she's not his biological daughter, she's half black, half white, married a white man and have white kids. Quincy Jones is another one that has 7 kids and only 1 of the 7 are black. I think the greater part of the conversation for me and why it's important is when I look at my own family and I look at my friends and I ask questions like, do your kids know they're black? It's not black racially, right? Because you are not phenotypically black once you're mixed. In America, I'm not going to speak for anywhere else, but in America, when you are black, that's culturally and racially and historically. So if your kid is mixed, they can be in black spaces, or be around their black family and still know that they're black. They won't ever look like me, but they'll know they're black. I would be remiss if I didn't talk about the historical implications from colonialism and slavery, the house slaves versus the field slaves, and how the light-skinned race was perceived as prettier, better, and they got to read, they got to be more educated. So black people learned that the lighter you are, the prettier you are. The lighter you are, the more proximity to whiteness you have. The more proximity to whiteness you have, the more access you have, the more upward mobility you have. So these things aren't new concepts. It's just that in 2024, for people to actively still pursue these things is a bit, overwhelmingly, black people are together. Same as overwhelmingly white people are together. Think that what we see is that successful people are entering different socioeconomic statuses, different societies and affiliations that have them juxtaposed to white people. And so they're like, oh, I made it. I'm going to have a baby with a white person, or I'm going to live in a white neighborhood, or I'm going to move on up. I think you can be mixed and still have a grasp on your blackness. You can be mixed and still understand your black family. You can be mixed and still occupy black spaces. And I think for me, why it's so intriguing is, as a black parent, if I was to ever have a biracial child, I would want my child to be around people that look like them. Because in the white world, they'll never be accepted as white. I think understanding that sometimes having a mixed child in all white spaces isn't the best option for your child is a conversation that needs to be had. Because you can move to a place that has other black and brown people that are successful, so your child is being reinforced with multicultural and their own culture around them. I grew up in New York in an upper middle class family, and where I lived, it was a dime a dozen to see successful Black people, successful Latino people, successful Asians, successful Indians, which is why I rant about New York so much. So I grew up in spaces that were not white, but were socioeconomically on the same level playing field as white people. But because I was always reinforced with other people around me that looked like me, I never had this idea that, oh, if I make it, I have to be around white people because white is right. And the older I get progressively more Black. In the near future, it's going to be a lot of soul searching for a lot of people, because to be a Black man or a Black woman and you build a certain level of education, socioeconomic climb, wealth, and foundation, and then that's only passed on to white people, there's so many historical implications there. There's so much cultural implications there, and I just could never want my future offspring to not look like me, but also benefit from all the work that I've done. What do you guys think?
Big shout out to the family. Yes. So that young man, his name is Who Is a Div. And he has really, really good content on there. But I mean, like I said, that video talked about so many different things. Colorism and representation and the loss of history, you know, the loss of lineage. That's another thing that we don't think about when we have these interracial relationships, you know what I mean, and families, is going to be the loss of culture, you see, because they greatly dilute our people and our culture. And obviously, the story's not going to be told quite accurately. We can almost deduce the story's not going to be told quite accurately as it gets passed down the line. So yeah, that video was quite profound, talked about a lot of the different topics, talked about how again, the successful members of our community, and I'm sure this is the same in South Africa, a lot of them are mixed race or marrying outside of their race. And so it's implicating that when you make it in life, you know, it's a status symbol, you know, to get one of these non-Black partners, when it's really just a detriment. And it's really stupid at that level as well, because there's wealth involved. So you're talking about a wealth transfer that many of those stars that he talked about, Quincy Jones, Lionel Richie, Michael Jackson, Diana Ross, they have in effect passed their fortunes on to white people. Their children have all married white people, and their lineage is diluted and gone. Yes. All right, guys, I'm about to come and do the comments. Who's in the building today? Make sure you hit the likes if you enjoy this topic. If you love the topic, you can also send a love offering to your girl. Yes. Make sure you guys are streaming The African Superstar on all music platforms. And if you're interested in a custom private bespoke tour here in Ghana, I'm your girl. You can get in contact with me at africansuperstar@gmail.com. Okay. Big shout outs to Dubfly KM, first in the room. Tuko Pamajira, Samira, I see you there. Nawaj was in the building. Gemma, I see you there. Owen, thank you for the compliments. Yeah, I'm actually about to get my nails redone. Hello, but thank you. Yes, 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 yes. Kano Can, I see you there. Big shout outs to all my moderators, everybody with the wrench. G says cultures are beautiful. Big shout outs to him. And G's repping that was at the Puerto Rican flag. I see you. M. George says you can't carry on rational conversations with the FBA. Of course, you know, the proximity has them warped. You know, we know, just like, you know, these Oreos or coconuts or Uncle Toms or sellouts or divestors, whatever you call them, you know, they have created a delusional world in their head, which makes what they're doing right in their eyes. You know, and especially for those very cutthroat people that just want to climb the ladder at any cost, they see whiteness as the goal, and they're going to aspire to get white. And I mean, a prime example of this is like people that maybe their standards for their own people would be so high, or they wouldn't even date their own people. And then they go get the most rundown, non-desirable, fat, old, sloppy, you know, used goods version of a white tea person, and they put them on a pedestal like they're at a prize, you know. And that's how a lot of those people see it, because for them, Anything white is going to be right. So they don't care. Big shout outs. What's up? What's up? Tuco says there's an elitism from some of the FBAs, and they say that this person, the diaspora, doesn't like them, and so on, without ever visiting the places from these people come from. Neely Fuller says it's venom. I mean, I talk about that a lot here on the channel. I basically put a video out saying, hey, if you have not come to Africa, you really can't talk about it because you really don't know. You know, and that's why I began the video saying the video I published yesterday, which talked about the proximity between basically the effects of proximity on Black Americans and South Africans. South Africans came on the video and was like, absolutely, I agree, you're right. And then Black Americans like, no, there's no similarities. There, you know what I mean? It's two totally different situations. And I'm like, bro, and I'm like, I can guarantee that those Black Americans have probably never been to South Africa. So me, you, the South Africans are like, yes. And then the Black Americans who've never been to South Africa or Africa are like, no. There's no parallels. There's no similarities. You know, the brainwashing is real. The brainwashing is real. G is there saying manipulation of culture. Tuco says, Rip Neely Fuller, master teacher and observer of Black people's psychology, and Dr. Frances Cress Welsing spoke this in her seminal book called The ISIS Papers. Yes, the keys to colors. What's up, Wildflower? I see you there in the building. Jennifer Edie, hello, sweetie. Good to see you. Serious Punch says, I think it's hilarious that people still don't think colorism exists. It's the cognitive dissonance. I mean, it couldn't be any more obvious. M. George says, hurt people hurt people. Tuco says, African booty scratchers is one of the most offensive phrases I've heard directed at other Blacks from the continent. Yes, the venom is real, as Neely Fuller puts it. I'm not too sure the derivatives. I'm pretty sure that comes from a movie. I don't know what movie, but I think that term was made popular by a movie. And I'm pretty sure probably a Black person didn't make that movie. But again, you know, it's so obvious when I do these examples of proximity. Who the hell is guilty? Who is the common denominator? That's what I want you guys to think about going forward. Okay, when you're looking at situations, who is the common denominator behind these things? Okay, they're playing you like a fiddle. What's up? What's up? What's up? Io is in the building. Io says, talk Black, but sleep white. Big problem in our community. I mean, you're a complete contradiction. You're a hypocrite. You know, marriage is political. Marriage is so defining to your future. You know, your wealth, your lineage, and everything. How in the world can you divest in that area and then still say, no, but I'm still an advocate of the community. I'm still pro-Black, even though I didn't choose a Black partner, and my kids are not going to be Black, and I'm not going to contribute wealth to the community. I'm still down with y'all. All I want to say to that is that actions speak louder than words, okay? G says, having someone underestimate you can be turned into an advantage. Tuco says, speaking about Diana Ross, wasn't she stopped at Heathrow some years back, but she was dumbfounded by how she was treated. She thought because she was famous, she wouldn't be exempt from racism. Io says, Oprah got the same treatment at Tiffany's in Europe. I think it was the Hermes store, Io. Jason says, Quincy Jones and Lionel Richie are MGM mix. Michael Jackson was Black. Well, the fact remains that their kids ain't Black. Their kids ain't Black, and neither is their fortune. Somehow, wherever they started from, the fortune ended up white at the end of the day. Hello, 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 hello. Jason says, FBA claim octoroon, quadroon, like Mariah Carey so much that they question Don Cheadle, Viola Davis phenotype as you must be African, not FBA, because we mixed. You know, the whole thing the proximity has done significant damage. I mean, it cannot be argued. It's so very evident because, like I said, the members of the diaspora that have had prolonged, living arrangement situations with these enemies, they're the most mixed up, and a lot of their behavior, it demonstrates anti-blackness. It doesn't make sense. Like I said, the Black Americans, gender has now become a concern. Not only their identity and their origins, but now, they're also being absorbed by this LGBT and trans agenda. And you just can't tell them nothing because they think, they don't see. They can't see how they're being played. And it's very unfortunate. But it is a learning example for the rest of us. We have to look at things around us, be able to decipher them, and then move accordingly. This proximity thing is so toxic and so serious. You need to think about it. Okay, especially those of you guys with children, think about the proximity. Okay, if you don't want your kids to go through all the trauma, the confusion, you don't want your one and only daughter, your one and only son to become a victim of proximity, premature death, the pharmaceutical companies, loss of identity, forgetting their gender, all kind of stuff that just is bred in those environments. Think about it. Wannabe World Traveler says the leader of the FBA, his wife is half white. Her mother is white. I lost all respect for his cause when this was disclosed. It's not surprising to me. It's not surprising to me because, again, these division fueled movements, you got to know it's an agent behind. Okay, people that are pro the people promote unity. People that are against the people going to promote division. Okay, they're going to point out all your enemies except the one who is the real enemy and tell you to go there. Black Americans were upset with the Mexicans, right? Oh, these Latinos are taking our jobs. Who told them that? Who convinced them of that? Do Black Americans want to get out and do that? The agriculture in the fields? Do they want to do the domestic work? Do they want to do, they don't want to do that stuff. Okay? Because I saw the days following the ICE raids and they took all those Mexicans out the fields and the construction yards and all those industries that they were in. Are Black Americans ready to do those jobs? They don't want to do those jobs, but they've convinced you guys. They've brainwashed you guys that people that are not responsible are responsible for your hardship. That's what they've convinced you. That's part of the nonsense. The same way they've convinced you that African people don't like you. There's nothing in the continent. They've told a lot of stories and lies to us that are historically inaccurate over the years, but we still trust them. We're still letting them educate our kids. We're still welcoming them to our homelands and into our circles and into our bed and marrying them. With all these proximity dangers, we still roll the dice. Io says sending Black kids to white private schools, then pay high costs to get kids traumatized. Let me tell you, I went to a predominantly white private school. Okay? Those kids are off the hook. Okay? They're the first ones to start having, sex. They're into drugs. They're the first ones to get cars from their parents. They get liberty. They're going to be the ones trying to, influence your naive daughter or son to do things that he or she shouldn't do. And then when they get caught, your naive son or daughter is going to take the fall and get the rap and get the trouble and get the record and get in trouble, whatever. I know the game. Okay? This proximity piece is why our people are particularly so damaged psychologically from centuries of being in those situations. And a lot of times when they lash out at their peers, it's a cry for help because they're so disenfranchised. They got to take it somewhere. Huh? Big shout out to the African superstar family. Jason says, look at here in New York City. These Europeans now want to come live in the hood. We can never be left alone. And I know it's nationwide, worldwide, like in Brixton. Listen, let me tell you, they got to always insert themselves. Okay? Wherever we are is wherever the energy is, and they got to always, you know, they will push us into an area, okay? Basically an area that's less desirable. Okay? Then we'll make it hot. And then they'll say, "Oh my God, that's the hot area of town. Come in and do it." I remember, I gotta look this fact up. When I lived in the UK, my landlord was a Brazilian, right? And he got me eating this particular dish, right? It's the Brazilian national dish, and I forgot the name of it. Hold on, let me see here. It is the Brazilian national dish. Let's see here, guys. Come on, come on, come on. Come on, Google, don't leave me hanging. Let's see here. Brazilian national dish. Google doing the most. Damn. Okay, it's called feijoada. Feijoada, I think. Okay, so basically, this was created by the Afro Brazilians. It's a really good dish. Shout out to anybody who's been to Brazil. You've probably had this dish. And so basically they were given, you know, scraps of food, you know, basically that couldn't be used or whatever. And they came up with what ultimately became the national dish of Brazil. You see, and that's just an example of how, you know, because they lack innovation, so they're trying to be funny when they give us undesirable stuff. Okay, they're trying to be funny because they themselves, they can't create something out of nothing. Okay, this is how you know they're not the superior race, because they don't innovate anything. Okay, if you know the nature of them, all they do is encroach. That's all they do. Okay, but they'll give us things that's meant to be undesirable, and then we'll make something else out of it. And it will be like, what? You know, so yes. All right. Another successful episode of Proximity. I'm drawing the parallels. The anti-blackness displayed among Black Americans, some, okay, not all, but some, and the xenophobia that's displayed among some South Africans. Okay, it is another symptom of proximity. Okay, nobody has the smoke for each other like the people that have been in those environments. The people that have been in those environments, they're lashing out because it's the voice of the unheard. They're helpless. Okay, they don't want to go for the big guy at the top of the chain. No, they're too scared of him. But they can go for their brother down the street, or you know, a foreigner, different group of African, different member of the diaspora. It's your fault that, you know, this and this and this and this is happening. So anyway, guys, if you get the playback, let me know in the comments what you think. If you're new to my channel, you enjoy this series, please make sure you join us so you don't miss any more. I have a long list of proximity topics. I've already did about 10 videos. There's a playlist you can check on the community tab, because none of your favorite YouTubers are talking about this but me. Huh? They don't even have the balls. Hello. They can't even go down this road. So make sure you guys show some love and support to your one and only African superstar. Okay, guys, I will see you all again very, very, very soon. Until we meet again, stay Black and true. If you ain't Black, just stay true.